We have you as a guest today. I think we're going to talk about the document that was shared on the first and probably also an outlook into Q2 of what's happening at WAX, right?
Sure.
All right. So maybe let's start with a look into Q2 while we are gathering questions through the question and answer module. So what's cooking?
Sure. So let me give you guys a quick update on Q1 and then what we are continuing to work on. Cloud Wallet Mobile has been released. It's a silent launch for now because we're still writing all the documentation and guides. So once those are published in our developer portal, then there's gonna be a larger announcement in terms of Cloud Wallet Mobile and how to integrate with it using the mobile SDK and or Unity SDK. In the meantime, our internal team is dogfooding that already. So Spin Tycoon team is, I believe, about to start their second open beta. So as they progress in that development, Spin Tycoon is going to be an example of a game that's actually using Cloud Wallet integration. Having said that, it's not going to be as important from the crypto perspective because it's going to be more of an identity solution for now. I believe I mentioned before that the strategy for Spin Tycoon and for our team in general is to try to build Web2 games first, and then transition or have an off-ramp into Web3. Because we believe as a team that the mass adoption that we've talked about is not going to happen if you start with crypto first. So that's the strategy, and we'll see how that works. And we'll continue to innovate in the gaming space. Additionally, I believe decentralization of RNG Oracle has been largely completed. The team is now working on testing all that stuff on testnet. And then that's also going to be opened up. The team is already working on decentralization of the Cloud Wallet bridge. So hopefully we'll see that done in Q2. And then we'll continue working on just the Cloud Wallet enhancements and integrations. Let me see if I'm missing anything here.
I have a question about the Cloud Wallet release. Will it be an iOS app too? So Android and iOS?
Yes, it's already in both app stores.
Ah, okay, nice.
But again, this has not been announced. This is more of a silent launch because we are still, we've been doing a couple of rounds of testing, bug fixes, and documentation. There's still a business flow that we're adding that I think is needed. So once that's done, hopefully by the end of April, we'll be able to do a wide announcement regarding Cloud Wallet. And then as you guys know, we've been also working on realigning the block producer and standby compensation. There's been quite a bit of discussions and work on that, and that includes also the rating system and OIG. So you guys saw the article that went out. A lot of work went into that, both internally and on the OIG side. So I wanted to thank OIGs for participating in that and giving us a very, very valuable feedback. But yeah, the article's out. We are in this realignment process that's going to take us 6 months. I'm sure a lot of you read the article, but I do want to add some color in terms of why we're doing it, I think that the reality is that the parachute was initially put in place with several assumptions that did not pan through. And the assumptions were that, the bull cycle of 2021, that was largely NFT based, that was the driving narrative, drove a lot of activity, a lot of infrastructure costs, a lot of buildup on Wax because of that. And, our assumption was that this trend would continue with the next bull run, or at least there would be a strong NFT-based narrative in this cycle. So we wanted to make sure that all that work and all the buildup and all the infrastructure doesn't get wasted, and that knowledge doesn't get dispersed by people shutting things down. So we decided that we're going to bridge the key players and guilds through the bear market cycle. But unfortunately, as you guys know, this bull run is very, very different. So we need to adjust, and we want to do a couple of things. Number one, what we want to make sure happens is that block producers focus on the things that they know how to do well, which is block production, supporting that infrastructure, essentially overall network health, and then focus on providing the bare minimum of APIs that are necessary, and then everything else out of that current bucket would essentially fall onto revised Wax Labs program. So the advantage of that would be that block producers' responsibility is very focused and highly technical, but we would not be expecting people to, do product development and marketing and all these other things that we're scoring people on right now. So hopefully the overall, being a block producer should be largely simplified. It should not take so much time anymore. Likely, we're gonna transition to maybe like a monthly block producer meet, and then simpler evaluations. We are gonna be working on providing a lot of the technical metrics. And exposing them on chain. So hopefully the whole evaluation process is going to be automated. So there's going to be a lot of work in that area over the next 6 months as the parachute transitions. And then everything else related to product development and then funding of any sort of initiatives is going to transition to Wax Labs. So that's a I guess high level what's been happening and what's Q2 is going to look like, and I guess largely Q3 as well. In terms of sentiment of the general markets in general, you guys are not living under the rock, so you see what's happening in the world. There is a massive realignment when it comes to trade. So the system that's been in play for the last 80 years is essentially being dismantled and changed. That introduces massive amount of volatility in the markets, including crypto, which means that we've seen several black swan events happen, which have a big impact on the crypto cycle. We don't know whether the bull market that started with Bitcoin run up last year is going to continue this year. Depending on who you talk to, they're gonna say that it's gonna continue this year, or the bull market is canceled, and we've officially, decoupled from the typical pattern. So now crypto is going to follow a different pattern. I am not an oracle. I don't know what's going to happen, but the moves that we are making on the wax side, and that includes the realignment of the parachute and compensations and all that stuff. We always try to prepare for the worst and plan for the best.
Got it. Yeah, thank you very much for that roundup of Q1 and the article. We didn't receive any questions yet from the participants of this call. So, is there any other topic we want to get into? Maybe.
Well, I can talk about a little bit of how Wax Labs is going to be realigned, because I think that may be on a lot of people's minds.
Absolutely.
So in the outgoing system that included the parachute, essentially there was just there was a guaranteed amount of money that guilds were paid. And, that amount was essentially utilized by the guilds as they see fit in terms of their, internal activities. That may have included, obviously, making sure that you've got the right infrastructure for block production and you met the minimal requirements, but you also were able to spend that money as you see fit in terms of your business activities. Whether that included being aligned with the overall, crypto narratives and trends or not, it was really up to you. I think that this big change is going to force a much tighter conversations with the Wax team between people who are seeking grants, which I think is a good thing. And then the Wax Labs is going to be realigned in really 3 different buckets. So bucket number 1 is going to continue to be, development of tooling, development of nonprofit type of projects that enhance the ability for people to build in the Wax ecosystem, and we'll definitely continue supporting that. Having said that, I think across all 3 buckets, we are looking internally and with OIG at improving the Wax Labs process with faster reviews, and then more. I guess there's going to be more, let's call it project management oversight. Or not oversight, but maybe it's the right word. Project management / delivery auditing from the Wax team. So we're going to have a dedicated project manager that is going to be following up with the teams receiving funding to make sure that the timelines that were agreed on are met, and then also that that the deliverables that were agreed on are actually delivered on. So I think that's going to be a positive improvement. And what that's going to mean is that we are going to have much tighter conversations with everyone, hopefully. One thing before I forget, I think it's time to make sure that every guild that is a block producer is in our Slack channel, internal Slack channel with the Wax team. So if you don't have that interface with us yet, then it's time to make sure that happens, because we want to make sure that we have as real time as possible ability to interact with us. And we are a Slack company. We do obviously things in Telegram, but that's not our primary mode of communication. So If you are a guild, if you are a block producer, then please do make sure that you reach out to OIG and us to make sure that we have a dedicated Slack channel for your team so that we can communicate with you and you can communicate with us quickly. Because if that's not in place, then it's going to be very difficult for us to have that closed loop with everyone. So let's keep talking about Wax Lab. So that's bucket number one. Bucket number two is going to be a bucket dedicated for these some of the critical infrastructure pieces, like running a full history node or maybe Atomic API. And right now we have a requirement where pretty much all guilds are running these or set of these, which is very, I think, difficult to accomplish well. And we're going to be seeking specialization, which means that if you are a strong member of our community and you want to run these, you have expertise in running these, then we're going to have these quarterly bidding processes that will allow you to essentially say, hey, I'm willing to run a full history node and open it up to the public with certain rate limits, obviously. And then, there may be additional members that want to compete for that funding. And then, we'll be granting these on, like I said, on quarterly basis. So that's also a little bit of a change of how we operate. So we are not going to have 20, 30 different APIs of the same flavor. We're going to probably go down to maybe one or two of each, so that we can reduce reduce the cost, but also have a little bit more focus and specialization behind who's actually running these. And then the bucket number three is probably something that is of interest to everyone else, which is just a general funding for projects. And we are going to open up. In the past, we've been hesitant to fund for-profit projects or teams. However, we have provided that funding on case-by-case basis, and we will continue to do so. Having said that, we're just going to streamline that process where teams will be able to interact with us as if we were a VC. So if you haven't ever presented or tried to get funding from a VC, then I suggest you watch some YouTube videos, do some research what that looks like, because the bar of getting that sort of funding is going to be much higher. What that means is that you typically need to have an MVP, you need to prove a business use case. We're not going to be funding slideware where you show up with the deck and that's all. You have an idea and you put together a PowerPoint. You will have to have some sort of proven use case, business use case. You should have initial set of customers. You should have business metrics and technical metrics to share. And then we can have a conversation about, how we can help you scale that up and how that would benefit Wax and how much money this would require. And a part of the conversation would be whether, is this going to be a grant or is this going to be some sort of a, business partnership where Wax team essentially goes into an agreement where we have a percentage of an actual entity seeking funding. So that's going to be a bucket number three. Any questions on that so far?
Not on the revised labs version, but in the meantime, we received 3 questions in the chat. They are more around guild ratings and block production order, I believe.
Okay.
Do you have a? I'm going to read them so that
I don't see the questions. So if you can just read them out, then.
Yeah, they are by Anders from WAG Sweden, and first question is, with the change of guild ratings, being more automated and reduced to core function, what's the idea of how to balance the risk of cheating on metrics, for example, CPU benchmarks?
Sure. I mean, once you start, it's always the case when the moment you start publishing a specific set of metrics, everyone optimizes, and there are going to be people who are going to try to cheat. The simple answer for that is, we will continue to have a form of OIG in place, and this is not going to be 100% automated. With no human interaction. We'll try to automate gathering and scoring as much as possible, but ultimately at the end, the decisions are still going to be made by the OIG and the WAX team in terms of who is the guild and the order and all that stuff. So I think that this system is going to continue to be refined. If we do find that people are cheating the system, then we will react accordingly at the time.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Okay, so second one was when all guilds that pass the score get the same points, how will guilds be differentiated at all? That's what's the short term and the long term vision here?
Well, I think we might have talked at some point about adding a weight into the on-chain scoring system, and that weight is going to be determined by OIG. I hope this is going to remain, impartial, but at the same time, it's going to be based on your overall participation, responsiveness, and the participation in the community. So if we end up with 21 block producers that are exactly same score, then the weight assigned is going to be decided by the OIG and the WAX team based on maybe some future criteria. But we'll cross that bridge once we get there. I don't want to be solving for things that are not a problem yet.
Got it. So I think a couple of weeks ago we have discussed some qualitative metrics criteria that could help differentiate the quality or the technical prowess of teams, especially when it comes to APIs, which are crucial for a nice UX on chain. For example, you want the billing to be accurate. You want the transaction to be fast, right? So. There are a couple of criteria.
And also, I'm gonna go back to make sure that you have a Slack channel with the WAX team. Make sure that we build a business relationship. Make sure that we know who you are, and be proactive about reaching out to us and OIG about having discussions about what it is that you're doing, what it is that you want to be doing. It comes down to building that relationship. So it's important because we need to know who you are, and we need to know why you matter. And at the end of the day, if you're receiving funding, if you're receiving money, you should have good business relationship with us.
Well said. Going into the next one, also from Anders, with less ways to differentiate between guilds, it encourages teams to not help others that struggle, so more opponents are removed from the roster. Any thoughts on the competitive situation.
I don't understand the question. Could you repeat it? I've cut out there for a second.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, so with
I
less
can repeat
waves,
it if you want, because I got a voice here now.
yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
Anders.
Yeah,
What's
hey.
up,
Go
dude?
ahead.
Hey, all good, all good. Happy to be here.
Nice.
So with the changes, the guilds might be discouraged to help others in a way to get them out of the rooster, since the point differentiation might be lower than it is now. Now we're encouraged to help others. The OIG is reviewing that kind of work as well. With more things being automated and the OIG having less of a responsibility, as it seems like it's gonna be, it is kind of encouraged for teams not to help others so they lose points to strengthen their own position. Any thoughts on that, or have you considered it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that even today you've got some competition. Whether the parameters of that competition shift, I'm not sure. Again, I don't want to be solving for something that is not a problem yet. If we see that every single guild becomes adversarial to each other, and all of a sudden we have an ecosystem where people are fighting, then we'll address that. I hope that doesn't happen. The fact that you're scored only on some technical items, I don't think that's going to necessarily push the guilds to be adversarial to each other. We obviously are going to be encouraging still collaboration and cooperation between members within the WAX ecosystem. And then hopefully that's going to reflect in the WAX Labs grants also. But if that happens, then we'll address that then.
Yeah, because what I mean is, let's say there are 21 teams plus the 6, which is the new line. The 6 extra, the difference of being a standby to elected is a big pay gap.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are there on the border, it will have a bigger impact since all the products are removed. The only thing that differentiates is the technical aspects, and the more problem other teams have, the better off you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, because that has not really, in theory, has been a problem now, but not really in reality. But it becomes more of a problem in reality when everything is more automated.
Well, let's see what the reality looks like. If again, I don't want to be spending mental cycles on edge cases and all these different scenarios that may or may not happen. Once they do happen, then we'll address it. Let's see what the world looks like in 6 months.
Cool.
And then if that is going to be in fact a problem where we see a lot of churn and fighting at that low end, at that I guess edge space between being the block producers versus standby, then we may address that. We are also having discussions now about whether the compensation from standby maybe should be more. So this is still being refined. We might find ourselves in a place where standbys are being paid a little bit more, but again, that hasn't been decided yet. I think that what's important to say here is that we have a general framework that is essentially directionally pointing us where we are going in terms of realignment of the guilds and the payouts and standbys and all that stuff. The fact that we have a general framework doesn't mean that we have every single edge case and rule defined, right? This is all going to transpire as we go. And the way I work is that I try not to worry about things that haven't necessarily happened yet, and then spend so much mental cycles on all these edge cases. Let's figure out where we are as we go, and then as new patterns emerge, then we will address them. But those are good questions, though. We'll keep an eye out.
All right. Thank you very much for the thorough answer. There's one more. We received one more question. It's about the Wax Labs, and the question is by Christella, also representative of 3DK and organizing NFTopia. For Wax Labs, the third type mentioned for funding, will it include different types of initiatives, for example, marketing and community-oriented proposals?
Yeah. So again, if there is a marketing initiative or an event that someone wants to plan, and they have a projection of, let's say, the impact onto the community, then we're definitely willing to have those discussions. I would like these to become more metrics driven in terms of what let's say if you're planning let's say you're planning a hackathon, right? So I would like to understand what the success metrics are. Are these number of dApps created and deployed, number of new users brought into the ecosystem? Is this some other metric, right? And then let's have these based on specific business metrics, and then have these payouts structured towards meeting or not meeting these metrics as part of the event. So yeah, if you're planning a marketing campaign, obviously a marketing campaign is going to have different success metrics than, let's say, a product. But I think we are definitely open to have these discussions. And again, it's going to be about how is this benefiting Wax ecosystem, and then what metrics we're going to use to measure that success.
Yes, and I assume we will work out more guidance and more.
Yeah,
information.
I'm not a marketing person, but I'm sure that once we get these, then our team would definitely get involved and provide guidance and scrutiny on any of those proposals.
Great. All right, we are 40 minutes in. We don't have any questions at the moment in the question answer module. But that's all right, because I think we're going to have you here again in 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, let's do this again and maybe at the beginning of Q3. So we'll do another update on things. Maybe in closing, I'll talk about narratives that we see emerging, or narratives that still matter, I guess, in this phase of the cycle. So we do think that projects that continue to make money and continue having impact in their in their ecosystems are definitely less so meme coins, but meme coins still have relevance. So that's one. DeFi is definitely something that continues having relevance. And then I would say we continue believing that building games remains that holy grail that potentially could have mass adoption of crypto. Having said that, I don't believe there's a single team in crypto that has figured out this formula yet with wide adoption of mainstream consumers that enjoy the experience. So like I said, we are still definitely experimenting with that. Spin Tycoon is going to be Web2 game with the off-ramp to Web3. And we'll see how that experiment does. What's interesting about games in general as a category, and that's just a caveat here, is that typically games and games vertical is insulated from recession. And I'm mentioning that because, if you are following the markets, if you are following the larger realignment that's happening in the world, we are looking most likely at a recession this year. If that happens, then, there's going to be an impact to various different industries, and gaming is typically insulated from that impact, because despite the fact that there's a recession, people still spend on gaming entertainment. So that's a category that Wax Team definitely likes.
Cool.
As far as real world assets and collectibles, I think we definitely continue seeing the adoption. Having said that, I haven't seen yet anything beyond the speculative nature of what we've seen the last cycle driving that space. There are obviously slide decks and proposals about using crypto to tokenize various different asset classes. So that hopefully happens at some point. But beyond the hype, I don't see any real world applications just yet. That's another area where I think we are well positioned to build essentially sustainable businesses using Wax blockchain technology. But that remains to be seen yet. So we'll continue supporting that space. And then we'll see how the cycle evolves.
Okay. Thanks for that outlook. Always nice to have you here. Thank you for your time. And let's talk again in 3 months, right?
Sounds good, guys. If you do have any questions, then, please make sure that you have a Slack channel established with the Wax team so we can have these direct conversations. And then we make sure that these business relationships are built. Like I said, in the past, we didn't put as much merit into that. But I think that as we go through this realignment now and how the funds are going to be spent, we want to make sure that we are working with people who, want to work with us, and we want to have good business relationships with everyone who is receiving money.
Okay, reach out to any of the OIG members for an invite link. Great. Okay, then let's conclude today's roundtable. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to all the participants. Thank you once again, Lukas, and have a great Tuesday.
Thanks, guys.
See you soon.
See ya.